Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing today? You guys sound really quiet. You guys actually at a convention or what? Man, I just feel like there could be so much more. Would you guys be louder if I was giving you guys stuff, like free stuff? Okay, fine. Well, I guess I gotta go buy some stuff then. I don't know. How you guys doing today? Cool. Do you guys who don't know who I am, my name is Shinobazu. I'm your gaming anime ninja. I stream full-time on Twitch. I also do a lot of other things, but it would take me literally an hour to get through all that, and that's not what we're here for today. So, for the most part, I'm just here to help teach you guys how to get into streaming. So, who here has never streamed before and is just here to learn how to do it for the first time? Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got a lot of people. I'm going to pick you because you sat in the front. Good for sure. There you go. See? If you want to learn, you got to be in the front of the class. Come on, guys. You are in the front. You are. There you go. See? I'm gonna try to throw all the way back there. It's probably not gonna make it, but I'm gonna give it 2 tries. 2 tries, okay? All right. There you go. I'm also going to do one more thing. I'm going to take my shirt off, but I need no one to freak out. I have a shirt under. Don't freak out. Okay? And it's hot in here. The shirt was just so you guys know who I am. We got good dollars out. But anyway, welcome. Happy to have you guys on here. So this is so you want to be. This panel is called So You Want to Be a Twitch Streamer. I'm basically here today to teach you guys everything you need to go. I'm ready to teach you guys everything you need to know to get from getting started for the very first time, basically building up a channel, building up a community, all the way to taking this full time. So that being said, everything I'm gonna go over here, I've also gone over on YouTube. So the main point of having you guys here today is so that you guys can ask me questions. So if anything is unclear or you're unsure about something or you have a question, please feel free to raise your hand anytime. I'll do what I can to catch people in between. But my main thing is just to basically be here to give you guys someone to talk to directly instead of just watching a YouTube video, right?
So I have a question. So a lot of people look down on Twitch streamers because they think that it's not a real job or you don't really do much with your life with it. How do you feel about that?
I generally don't talk to people who don't exist directly. I just treat them as figments of my imagination. No. There are some people who do look down on them. For me personally, I just have a really big ego. And so like, one of the easiest ways I've like dealt with it is to be like, well, you worked for 8 hours today to make your paycheck. I played Star Fox for 8 hours today to make my paycheck. So it's like, it's not that like your opinion doesn't matter at all. I just don't care. But that's just me. But I'm also a very mean person. I'm really nice. Let me rephrase that. I'm a really nice person. I just hate people. You wouldn't understand. No, but yeah. Alright, so normally I split this into 2 panels where I do like 1 panel for people who are like actually super brand new and then 1 panel for people who are looking to go full time. We didn't necessarily have enough time for that this year, so I'm kind of crunching them 2 together. So I'm going to rapid fire some things for people who are brand new to consider, and then we're going to go kind of into like, going full time and growing into a streamer and taking it a little bit more seriously. That being said, if you're newer and you have any questions at any point in time, again, feel free to raise your hand to stop me. I also asked them to give me extra time, so we have like 2 hours for this, so we're not rushed. So I'll have plenty of time for questions. I won't feel like freaked out or anything like that, all right? First and foremost, when you are starting a stream, if you are starting a brand, you are becoming a person, a gamer, you're becoming more than just a gamer, you're becoming an influencer. People are going to look up to you, people are going to like say your name, some people may get your name tattooed on them, you're going to have an effect on other people, so it's very important that you consider what your name is. This seems like something I know that's really simple, but I don't know how many times I've hung out with Pussy Slayer 69 and can't figure out why I can't get any sponsors, and I'm like, I just, so, not to be that kind of guy, but I mean, it's very important to know, like, your mom may be waving a sign with your name on it, If you don't want your mom waving like Demon Destroyer 92, which I mean, I think is a fine name. If you want to be a Demon Destroyer, I'm not going to stop you, but just be considerate of that. I think that the name your parents give you obviously is really important more often because meant something to them. The only thing I think is more important than the name your parents give you is the name you give yourself. Whether it's your name, or anything, everything about your stream or your content should say something about you. Whether it's just your name, your icon, your brand, your logo, and honestly, your name says a lot about you before people even get to know you. For me personally, as you know, my name is Sheena Basu. May not mean something to everybody here, but there's a handful of people here who are super into anime there's some people who know exactly where it's from, there's some people who know kind of what it's from, and there's some people who just assume I like ninjas. That being said, all of those things are true, and all of that's communicated with my name without me having to say anything to you. So it's very important to do that when doing anything in terms of branding or content creation out there in the world, okay? Cool. All right, dope. Who here knows what streaming software you have to use to stream on Xbox? Well, Mixer isn't a software, but close. The answer is no streaming software. Xbox actually has it built in, so does PlayStation, so you don't have to have a third-party program if you want to stream directly from your Xbox or console or PlayStation directly to Twitch or Mixer. It doesn't just have to be Mixer on Xbox, by the way. That being said, if you're streaming on PC or you're planning on doing PC gaming, the three most notable programs you're going to look for is either OBS, which is Open Broadcast Software, Streamlabs OBS, which is basically Streamlabs' version of OBS, and XSplit, which is kind of the more high-end professional version of all of them. XSplit is the only paid one, while the other two are free. I only recommend XSplit to those people who are planning on doing a podcast or something where they're going to be switching a lot of scenes. If you have a really highly scripted or edited Dungeons & Dragons game or something like that, XSplit would probably be much better for you than OBS or Streamlabs OBS. But otherwise, OBS is free, it's open source, and you don't have to pay anything because it's free. So get that. There's a bunch of other ones out there that charge anywhere between $50 to $400. None of them do anything more than OBS, and they just charge you for no reason. And all of the biggest streamers right now all use OBS, so there's really no reason to use anything better or anything else better, all right? Good? All right. The last two quick things, and then we'll be on the more serious stuff. If you've never streamed before, your very first putting up a stream for a very first time, there's a bot you can put in your stream called Nightbot. It basically just makes sure that if anyone posts anything inappropriate in your stream, it takes care of it for you. So you don't have to worry about people posting links to porn websites or scams or viruses or anything like that. It's literally just called Nightbot, night is in good night, not night is in white night, or I don't know, black night, I don't know. And the point is, nightbot.com, it'll pop up, put it in your stream. It takes away a lot of early headaches that streamers have to deal with. It's free, again, also free. Everything I'm talking about here, super free. I like free stuff. I'm not rich. Well, not super rich. So I like free stuff. So always Nightbot, put something, either Nightbot, there's also OBS bot, or not OBS bot, Streamlabs bot. There's MooBot for some reason, because someone wanted a MooBot instead of a Nightbot. But they basically take care of a lot of the early headaches you have to deal with some streaming. So get it, download it, use it, super dope. Last important thing before you start streaming is figure out what game you want to stream. The easiest way to do that is figure out what games you like to play for 2 to 3 hours. I only say this because a lot of people want to get into streaming and they have a lot of time struggling with growth, and that's because they switch games 5 times in the course of 2 hours. It's really hard for people to get to know you or spend time in your stream if they never know what you're doing. And if you jump from one game of League of Legends to TF Tactics or Teamfight Tactics to Overwatch, people never really know what they're coming for when they get to your stream, and it's a lot harder to retain anybody to give them time to get to know you. So if you're not sure what to stream, just figure out something. Doesn't even have to be a game. Just figure out something you like to do for 3 or 4 hours. Serious. It doesn't have to be a game though. One of the top streamers right now just watches Gordon Ramsay for 4 hours. Not even does it to 12,000 viewers every Tuesday and Saturday, but he literally has thousands of people show up because they know every Tuesday or every Saturday is Gordo night. Everybody shows up to watch Gordon Ramsay with them. So it can be anything you like to do for an extended period of time, right? Alright, and the last thing, quick thing for new streamers that I recommend, I'm even going to be giving one away tomorrow if you don't have one, so If you don't have one, come tomorrow to my panel. But get a decent mic. I would say audio is probably one of the most important things when it comes to streaming, not even video. I don't think you need a webcam to get started streaming. In fact, a lot of the top streamers don't have a webcam or do no cam at all. That being said, everybody's got to listen to you. If you guys have ever played on Xbox or played on PlayStation and used the kind of headset mics that they sound terrible. You don't like listening to the kids. If you guys have ever played a multiplayer game and heard the kid is like, "Hey guys, I'm like, no one wants to hear that screeching noise, and half of that is their age, the other half of that is that mic. You can get a really cheap mic for 20 bucks, it's good enough to get started. I personally recommend the Blue Snowball, which is only 40 bucks, but it goes down as the cheapest 20 bucks, depending on like Black Friday and things like that. Get yourself a decent mic. It'll be, one, everyone who watches your stream will thank you. Two, everyone who listens to your stream just because they want to support you, but not necessarily watching, will also thank you. And again, audio is probably one of the most important things in like any medium, not just streaming. Alright? Cool. That's all the basic stuff I got. So now we're going to the big boy stuff. But first of all, before we get into this, does anyone have any general streaming questions before we move on to anything big? You in the back with is that the dude from Digimon? Yeah. Alright.
Tentamon, man.
Yeah.
Quality, how do you control it?
You don't. No, I'm not. No, what do you mean? What do you mean by how do you control quality?
Well, I helped a lot of previous streamers, and what they do, they run 2 rigs, and they have their main game going on their main system, and then they have their actual streaming rig. And right now we're having a bit of an issue on bit rate of going from high bandwidth for our internet, but we don't know how to measure our bit rates properly.
So if you're just starting, a recommendation I'd make for anyone who's just starting out streaming, I don't care how powerful your PC is or how much you think your computer can handle or whatever your rig can handle, you always want to start at 720p, 60 frames a second. Even if you have a 4K PC, the reason for this is for a lot of new people, one, people watch Twitch all over the world. And not even just Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, there are literally billions of people all over the world who consume this content. I think Twitch is like 300 million active users daily or something like that. That being said, majority of those, like I think over 40 to 50% of that is on mobile. And if any of you guys have a cell phone and have tried to use your cell phone at this convention, you know that your mobile data isn't always the greatest. So the main reason why if you want to control the quality of your stream, especially early on, the most important thing is to make sure it's at 720p 60 frames as opposed to a 1080p 60 frames. But in terms of your actual question of like how to get the bit rate properly, but that specifically is only handled by your internet service provider. If you're from Las Vegas, more than likely you have Cox or CenturyLink, and your bit rate should always, you want to have a bit rate of about 3,500, between 3,500 and 6K. But if you only have like a 2 megabyte upload, which you may have depending on who you have, then you can only do a 2K bitrate upload, in which case that's all you can, that's the max you can have your stream at, unfortunately. So it's hard for me to say without seeing your actual setup what you should use, but you always want to keep it under whatever your upload rate is for your ISP, so you can do a speed test to figure that out. And you generally want to shoot from 3,500 to 6,000. Cool?
Thank you.
All right. Any other? So
Streaming from Xbox, every time I upload a video, the quality of the video just turns out like total crap. Is there something you can do to actually improve the video quality of it?
Unfortunately, Xbox, if you're streaming directly from your Xbox, it does not allow you to change your bitrate, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, that's just kind of one of the downsides of streaming directly from the Xbox. Easiest fix I can say to grab around it is if you have like a pretty decent laptop or a computer you can connect to, get a capture card instead and use OBS, in which case then you'd be able to pick the bitrate yourself because you're using a different program. You can get a really good capture card these days, or a good one is $100, but you can get a cheap starter one for like anywhere between 30 to 50 bucks, just to get you started and get you going streaming to begin with. And most people won't really notice the difference between the $50 one and the $100 one until you're like starting to grow a bit more. But unfortunately, when coming directly from PlayStation or Xbox, they do like they don't do 720p, they do like a little bit under 720p, and they do it at like a 1500 bit rate for whatever reason, and unfortunately there's no way around it when you're going directly from the console. Alright, cool. Swap this over real quick. What disconnected? No, don't disconnect. I'm just getting started. Move. I hate disconnect. is Karen Lager. You are correct. Who the hell do you think I am, dude? Come on now. Alright, so I have a tab that's like just barely out of the way, but I can't, there we go. Alright, dope. So, first thing I'm going to talk about for people who are like basically looking to grow, like you've been streaming for a while, you're looking to actually grow to get an audience to the point where you can actually like say grow your stream, whether it's getting like, Facebook partnership or getting affiliate on Twitch or something like that, so you can actually get a sub button and start monetizing. One of the most important things when you're actually looking to grow is to pick a game or like a small genre of games and you want to stick to it. Now, I know everybody wants to be a variety streamer and everybody has a variety of games they like to play. And I'm not saying you can't play different games from time to time, but if you're looking to actually grow a community, it's a lot easier to give them something consistently to come back to so that you can get to know them for you to be able to grow, and then over time you can pivot into other games. One of the reasonings or examples I give for this is, honestly, when Twitch is a very different experience, or streaming in general is a very different experience because even though you're not sitting there with the person, you're still connecting and communicating with that person in real time. It's almost like building a friendship, just not like in person, but over the internet. If all of you guys I know a lot of you guys, some of you guys are sitting by yourself, but a lot of you guys are sitting with friends. If you think about even the friends you're sitting with now, a lot of you guys connected over something you guys had in common, and then after building that connection from doing something you guys had in common over and over again, you guys branched out to doing other things. If you think of your best friend from high school, he probably wasn't instantly your best friend, he or she. But they were probably someone you always had math class with or always had band class with. You spent a lot of time with every single day. And then after spending 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or however long you spent with them, you just realize, hey, this is a really awesome person. I don't care if they're playing League of Legends or Hello Kitty Islands Adventure. We're going to have a good time. Not everybody you can play Hello Kitty with, but there's some people who will, but you've got to give them time to get to know you first before you can switch to other games. That being said, you don't always, you don't have to play the same game for a month straight. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll have a main game that I play, so I'll start my stream playing either Dead by Daylight or League of Legends for the first 2 or 4 hours, and then whether it's either on a particular day or just at the end of my stream, I might swap to something else. One thing I'm really known for is every Friday, I don't play Fortnite. I don't hate it, I'm just not good at it. So every Friday, I do Fridays where basically I team up with all my subs and viewers, and then anybody who wants to hop in the lobby, we just do 4-man squads until I get mad and want to punch one of them. And we just play Fortnite all night. I've gotten better at not getting mad at my teammates because I have one moderator who's literally like Ninja, but only 12, who's just really good at League. So this man will literally just 1v4 the entire team and just carry us the whole time. It's great. That being said though, my point there is, if you want to play other games, it's fine, but try to do something on a schedule. Kind of an example of this would be your favorite TV show. Everyone comes home for after school to watch Dragon Ball Z or Power Rangers or whatever they'd watch afterwards, but there was always that special show that came on Saturday. There'll be some people who don't care about, whatever it came on Saturday morning, but there's some people who literally lived for those Saturday morning cartoons. There are some shows you can only catch on Saturday. Make it a big deal, make sure it's on a schedule, make sure people know when to expect it, and that way you're able to still do something to grow consistently, but also mix it up every once in a blue moon to try to bring in some new people. Cool? Any questions about picking a game or anything like that, or what games you should stream, shouldn't stream, anything like that? No? Sure. Oh, sorry.
I heard watching other people and how to grow and stuff, they usually recommend not to stream the first 15 things you see on the Discover page only because it's overly saturated with other people. Is that true, or you just go with the flow?
I personally grossly disagree with it. They say that because they don't say it for a wrong reason. Don't get me wrong. But essentially, what I normally tell people is if you want to play something that's high up on the directory, so the top 15 games on Twitch or something like that, it is harder to get discovered, mainly because there are so many other people streaming it. That being said, if one of those games is the game you like, that's going to be the only thing you want to play for 4 hours at a time. You know what I mean? If you're a huge Fortnite fan, I'm not going to tell you to go play Call of Duty Blackout, which has no viewers, simply because it's easier to get discovered in Call of Duty if you don't like Call of Duty, right? There's no way you're going to sit and play it for 4 hours. And more importantly, even if you play it for 4 hours, you're not going to meet people who like the things you like. You're meeting people who like Call of Duty when you like playing Fortnite. The thing is, though, it is harder to get discovered in those directories. So one, you have to do pretty much everything else I'm going to talk about 10 times more than the average person would. But there's also, in general, there's no discoverability on Twitch in general. So getting discovered through someone scrolling through the directory is very rare, unless you, again, you're like very specific about other things you do. So I wouldn't worry about that. I personally say it's better to stream those games. One, because they're popular, so they're more likely to have people coming in and out or looking for new people. And two, they're popular, so you're more likely going to like those games. That being said, I've worked with people who play Fortnite and helped them go from, just starting out to being over 100 viewers. And I've worked with, like, my girlfriend specifically. She started out playing Donkey Kong Country, which nobody watches, is what everyone would assume. But she went in with her first 9 months, or not 9 months, her first 90 days. She went from streaming to just me and like 2 or 3 of our friends to streaming to 20 to 40 people just playing the different Donkey Kong Country games. But mainly, she did pretty much everything else I'm going to talk about on this list super consistently, and she did the things she enjoyed. So she focused on what she could do for 4 hours straight as opposed to just playing Fortnite or Call of Duty for 4 hours straight. And there was a question in the back?
Would you more likely pick a game that you're good at than bad at? Like, what if you pick a popular game that you're really bad at and you do something that you like?
I would pick a game that you enjoy. So, like for example, I am terrible at Fortnite, but I still enjoy playing it. So I don't mind playing. And then Fortnite's just kind of big enough to where as long as you can do it for a couple hours, it is better to be good at a game, but not everybody is going to Twitch to find the best players, right? Like if I'm gonna go find the best Fortnite streamer or whatever, I'm probably a Tfue stream, I'm probably watching Ninja, I'm probably watching, Booga or somebody like that. There are some people, one of the things like my stream was known for, before I was one of the best Dead by Daylight players, because I am the best, throwing that out there. But before it was that even though I wasn't like one of the best Dead by Daylight players, I was one of the only Dead by Daylight players who was always talking about the latest anime episode. So like, there are people who like Fortnite who also like, My Hero Academy or Dragon Ball Z. And so like, whenever the new episode of Dragon Ball Super came out, I was like, yo, so can we talk about Ultra Instinct Goku and why it's not better than Super Saiyan 4? But the fact that there's people who liked the game I was playing who were also in anime, they found their way to my stream. But because I still enjoyed the game, I was still able to play it for a long period of time. That being said, the better you are at a game, the easier it is to multitask. And multitasking obviously is something really important for streaming because you've got to read chat, you've got to thank people for donations or subs, and then also you still have to be entertained. Playing a game unless you are the best player in the world, just playing a game by itself isn't entertaining for most people. So learning how to be entertaining is being better at the game. It's a lot easier so you can focus less on playing the game and more on being entertained. So being good does help, but it's not a requirement. I personally watch a bunch of people who are god awful at the game, and I just watch them and talk to them. Because believe me, if I were I listen. Some of you are in this room. I'm not gonna point you out. I love you, but I'm not there for your gameplay. Don't look at me like that. I love you, okay? But I love you. Anyway, but yeah. I saw a question from a little hand over there, I think. But if not, I will move on. All right, cool. All right. Where are we at next? Next thing, yeah.
Would you recommend games with stories would be avoided because people might not want to jump in big story in the game? Or Divinity or something, how it has a long storyline?
I don't actually not recommend story-based games. So a lot of people would assume that 2 reasons why most people wouldn't play story-based games is because either people don't want to have the game spoiled for them, or people are just don't want to be behind in the story. That's generally not actually what ends up happening. Usually when it comes to story-based games, I'll use a prime example. This would be like the Walking Dead Tall Tale, right? The Tall Tale's Walking Dead. Pretty much, it's just a point-and-click adventure game, but it's very story-based with decisions. There's a lot of people who just watch people play Walking Dead, and they find a lot of new people simply because they want to see different people's reactions to certain parts of the story. Streaming is basically very similar to Let's Plays. In fact, it's a live version of it. It's pretty much exactly the same thing outside of that. So there's a lot of people who tune into story-based games simply because they want to see someone else's basically expression when they go through certain moments in the game. I don't think every story-based game is great for this, and there will be some people, like I said, if you're playing a game that just came out, let's say I was playing Kingdom Hearts the day it dropped, there'll be some people who don't want to tune in because they don't want spoilers, but then there'll also be a bunch of people like who basically stayed up all night, beat the game in one day, and want to see everybody else's reaction to like the big spoiler at the end or the big twist that like Mickey Mouse is actually Jackie Chan. I didn't see that coming. Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't see that coming, but no, realistically, I would say though, if you're looking to grow in a story-based game, it's better to play a series. So like with my girlfriend, when she started, she started Donkey Kong Country 1, then she went to Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Country 3. She did Donkey Kong 64 for a day and then quit, and then went on to like Tropical Freeze and like other better games. But like, so it's better if you're trying to grow to do a story, like basically do a series, so that people are able to come along through that series and kind of like grow with you, if you would, or learn the story with you. But playing story, it's not the best place to grow, but it's not a bad thing to do if that's what you want to do. That's just what you're into. And then also, there's also speedrunners who kind of just come in, and they just like to watch people play the game. Sometimes they learn new strats, or sometimes they just like to be like, dude, I could do this so much faster. Like, dude, if you do a backflip double jump and then grab a hat off that guy's shoe, you can be right at the last boss right after you start. Huh? Man, was there one more question that we want to wrap up?
For say you just stream for like 30 minutes straight, like 0 viewers, you know, and you're playing solo, you're constantly just quiet. Is that like should you just be like talking to yourself at that point, just to, you know?
Yeah, you should never be quiet on your stream. Unless you're like fighting a really hard boss, and even then, I recommend you just rage as hard as possible. But you should almost never be quiet on your stream. That being said, it is really hard when you have no viewers. That's something all of us have dealt with when you're first starting out. When you don't have a lot of people watching, or you have nobody watching, I would always say is just say whatever. The best way is just practice talking to yourself and just say whatever it is you're thinking. Whatever it is on your mind. Doesn't necessarily have to be about the game. I think the way I got the first person to talk in my chat was I was just talking out loud about like what I was thinking while I was playing Dead by Daylight. Like usually I'd be talking about, I wonder what that guy's doing, I hope that guy dies, I hope that guy doesn't die, why did this douchebag sell me out? And then at one moment I was like, man, blah, 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 I'm really hungry, should I make a sandwich? I'm gonna go make something to eat. Hold on guys, I'll be right back, I'm gonna make something to eat. And so as I was like rambling off about random things I was thinking about, I was just like, yeah, I was like, this food, this cornbread was really good, that was really delicious. Did I turn off the oven? I don't know. Did I turn the oven off? And the guy just popped in, like, you said you turned the oven off earlier. And I was like, did I? When did you get here? How long have you been here? How do you know that I turned off the oven? But the only reason why he was able to answer that is because, as I said I turned off the oven earlier, but it was because I was just talking about random. Mind you, playing a survival horror game has nothing to do with the oven, but it was only because I had that moment of me just talking out loud, saying whatever it was I was thinking. Try to keep it PG-13 at least, by the way, if you are thinking things. But other than that, whatever you're thinking, say out loud, the best thing to do is, especially if you have no viewers early on, that's the only way to get new people to come in and to stay when they're coming in. In the back?
I just have a comment about that. What I usually do if no one's in there, I just start narrating what I'm doing in the game.
Yeah. The best thing to do is just say what you're doing in the game or say what you're thinking about in the game, depending on what's going on. That's about the best way to get through it. All right. Now I'm going to talk about something that's like super important. This is probably more important than what game you play, in my honest opinion, when it comes to streaming in terms of growth. If you're trying to grow a stream, generally trying to like get to know people, people in general are very habitual. Everything we do is a habit, whether we realize it or not. One of the most important things, especially early on if you're trying to grow a stream, is to have some sort of schedule that you have for your stream and then stick to it. Whether it's, if you're you always off on Saturday and Sunday, so you always stream, between like say 6 and 10 on Sundays, or you always get off work at 9 o'clock and you always stream from like 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning and not, after getting off work. The easiest way to grow a stream or to grow a community is to make them come in to hang out with you a habit. If you think about like your best friends you play games with all the time, if you do play a lot of competitive games or like team-based games, the people you play with the most aren't necessarily the best players, but it's usually just the people who are always there when you get online. So like if you always get off work at 6, and the best player doesn't get off work until 9, but the other dude gets off at like say 6:30, you're probably playing with him because you're always there to like at the same time hanging out with each other. You know what I'm saying? So one of the most important things if you're trying to grow is it doesn't have to be a perfect schedule, and I'm not saying you have to like always be like, damn, it's 9:05 and I said I'd stream at 9. Like, there's no stream today, guys. Like, you don't have to be like super like anal or anything like that about it, but it's very important to have some sort of schedule so that people know when to expect you and then when to come back. I think for me, when I got like when I was doing my greatest, when I got partnered, it was almost like pretty much people had me in their morning routines. I had people all over the world watching this time, but people had me in their morning routines where there are people who are watching me every day before they're on the way to school. There are people who said they watch me every day at lunch. There are people who say they watch me every day on their coffee break or when they're getting their kids ready. But it was because they knew whenever they went to go do the thing that they other thing they did, school, whatever, they knew I was going to be there because I was always there at that time. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions about schedule or best time to stream, worst time to stream, anything like that?
What would be the best time for that stream for the week?
Monday through Friday. All right. So I'm going to give you the analytical answer and the real answer, okay? Based on Twitter analytics from Devin Nash and many of the other Twitch psyches from around the internet, the optimal time to stream on Twitch is going to be between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. The reason because of this, all of the top streamers cannot be bothered to get up before noon. So between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., nobody has anybody to watch. This is also, while most of us are getting up in North America, the time people in the UK and Japan are getting off work. So everybody is looking for somebody to watch. But again, all the top streamers can't be bothered to get up before noon. So they have nobody to watch. But in reality, the best time to stream is whenever you can do it consistently. So if you say you work like a job and you like say you work say like a retail job and you don't always get the same schedule, if you can't know that you'll always say be home at like 7 p.m. to stream at 7, then it would be better for you to just say your store closes at 10, always have a stream even if it's for like 2 or 3 hours at 11 o'clock, then sometimes stream at 7, sometimes stream at 11, sometimes stream at 6. Whatever you can do consistently is going to be way better than anything else. And even though like there are better and worse times to stream, for you, the thing that's going to affect your growth the most when you're starting out is just going to be being consistent, not what time you're streaming. Cool? All right. Any other questions about schedule or anything like that? No? All right, dope. For those who are wondering, the second best time to stream on Twitch or Facebook is going to be between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. because all the top streamers are now bored and are going to sleep, and so everybody has nobody to watch it. Go ahead.
Just to look at it, so there can't be any right time, except the time that's right for you, because it's a global game we're talking about here, and in the end, then it's here like 7 p.m., somewhere else is like 8 a.m., you know, so it doesn't matter what time it is.
Yeah, there are technically times where there are more viewers on Twitch than less, but realistically, like you said, there's not really a right time because ultimately it's just going to be what, like you said, what's right for you. That's going to be based on like what you can do consistently. Cool. All right, what do we got next here? Make it a habit. Blah blah blah. Oh, this is a really cheesy one, so nobody laugh at me, okay? It's kind of cringy. This is very important though if you're trying to grow on Twitch or any platform, all right? Be genuine. Don't be fake. Be yourself. You guys ever been told that when you're little? Hey guys, be yourself. Everybody will like you if you be yourself. Now, streaming is much different from YouTube or like any other form of content creation. If you do a YouTube video, you like take like a million takes of it, you take the best cut, you edit that best cut to look better, and then you put that on YouTube. That's why you'll see a lot of the top YouTubers are like, hey Johnny, what's going on, bro? Yeah, bro, my name's Logan James the Paul III, and we're gonna be awesome! And it's like, that's cool. I'm not saying you can't, but you can't do that for 8 hours. I know some people who try to do that for 8 hours. Dr. Disrespect kind of does that for like 2 hours, But it's really hard to keep up that level of energy for the entire stream. Not to mention, I actually had to do this once on a dare, and you actually lose your voice. Like, seriously. So, realistically, if you're streaming is a long haul kind of thing. It's not like a one and done. It's not like super short spurts. It's more often than not, people are going to get you. I've worked with a lot of people who have basically pretended to be things they weren't, or pretended to be things they're not. I had a friend of mine who he's Jersey, he used to hide his accent and to make himself sound more, I'm gonna use his exact words. He would hide his Jersey accent to make himself sound more gay, because even though he said he wasn't homosexual himself, but he noticed that he got a lot of certain viewers based on that demographic, and when he stopped using the accent or stopped hiding his real accent, a lot of his viewers got really upset with him because they felt like he was one thing and he wasn't. Now, to be fair, he never said that, but also, like, he never said he was one way or another, but the fact that he wasn't being generally who he was, when he finally did decide to stop pretending, it turned a lot of people off who felt like they knew him, because again, a part of being on Twitch is getting to know people and like building a relationship with them, and if you're pretending to be something you're not the entire time, then you're kind of invalidating that relationship. And more importantly, it's just easier to be yourself. Another prime example of this that I like to use is Tiger Woods. How many of you guys know who Tiger Woods is? Just by a show of hands, right? Do you guys know why so many people were mad at Tiger Woods, like back in the day? For those guys who don't, it's because he was with like a bunch of girls for no reason. While he had a very beautiful wife at home and a beautiful kids, he was with a bunch of different girls for no reason at all. And everybody hated him for it. But at the same time, Hugh Hefner was with a bunch of girls all the time because he runs the Playboy Mansion, and everybody loves him for it. The reason why people were mad at Tiger Woods wasn't because he was with a, well, there are some people who are always going to be mad at people with a bunch of girls or a bunch of guys. That's another thing. But the reason why the world turned on Tiger the way they did wasn't because of what he did, because he could have just been the bad boy of golfing, right? He could have been, all-star golfer by day and then, sugar daddy by night. But it was because people saw him as like the golden boy of golfing, like the goody two-shoe. He always pretended like, hey, I'm happily married with my wife and kids. There are plenty of guys and girls who kind of go out and do all sorts of things, but they're as long as they're upfront with who they are about it, their community, like the people who like those types of things will gravitate to them, and the people who don't like those things will be pushed away from them, and that's okay. Because ultimately, you don't want everybody in your stream. You want the people that you click with, the people who like you for you, and not for who they think you are or who they want you to be. Make sense? Another important thing I would say for people who are trying to grow on Twitch or grow on any platform is be active with your community. For me on my stream, I play video games all day, but I also spend a lot of time talking about anime. So we have a Discord, I should say, where pretty much like anytime something happens in like say a certain series you're watching, I'm always talking back and forth with them about it. Ultimately, the more time you invest in the community and the people who spend time with you in your stream and your content, the more time they're going to invest back into you. And it's always best to be active with them. So if you don't have a Twitter, make one. If you don't, the reason why you make a Twitter is so that you can talk directly to the people who interact with your content without them having to be on your Facebook. The reason why people like Twitter or like tweets is because if you guys have paid attention to the presidential election, we all know when it's Donald Trump tweeting. We may not agree with his tweet, but we all know that he said it. That's the same way your fans will see when you're interacting with them on Twitter. If you tweet something or if you reply to their tweets, they know that it's coming from you. And so it's nice to be able to have that direct line to you without them being able to know, what high school you went to, what girlfriend you dated, what your cousin posts you on Facebook, you know what I mean? So it's basically helps build that connection without it getting uncomfortably close, if that makes sense. In the back?
So would you have two accounts, one for first, or just have, just two different ones, like one for Twitch, one for yourself, or just make it together?
When it comes to things like Twitter, I would just have one account. When it comes to things like Facebook, Facebook has what's called like a fan page. So I would make a fan page separate from my actual Facebook. So I would invite people to add me on Facebook. On occasion, people still try to, but I don't invite them to do it. But generally, one one I think it's too much work to have like a personal Instagram and a public Instagram, or like, you know, like game Instagram. But there are some people who do. Ultimately, it's just the amount of work you want to put into it, or the amount of work you want to do on it. But I think if you're going to be making content on any platform, you need to have a Twitter, because that's where most business is done for whatever reason. I've gotten more game demos and more like convention passes and more brand deals and more jobs on Twitter than like anything else. I like literally got flown all the way out to Boston for PAX East because someone tweeted out, hey, is there anybody who wants to go to PAX? And I said yes, and he DM'd me. So like, that's pretty much it. I got to play like Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice early and for free, simply because someone tweeted out, hey, who wants a Sekiro code? And I said yes. I don't know why people tweet these things, but that just seems to be the way place that this stuff gets done. So yeah. And so if you're interested in doing that, that's 100%. Twitter's the place you need to be. And if you're doing art or anything creative or artistic, Instagram is the other place to be. And if you're like a gameplay streamer, like your funny moments on your stream or your sick kills or, you know, sick high stream highlights, then in those clips, go on Instagram. If you want to tweet about how you, what's a good tweet? I don't know. If you want to tweet about how pineapple doesn't go on pizza, Twitter's the place for that. And for all of you in here who put pineapple on pizza, stop it. You're ruining a good thing, all right? Thank you. Gosh. Just have to throw that out there. It needed to be said. I'm sorry, all right? She's leaving because of it, but you know what? That's okay. You in the back? Do you have a question? No, all right. People are raising their hand. Oh, okay. Hallelujah. All right, what do we got next here? Okay. Next thing, this is probably one of the most important things for growing on Twitch. For those of you guys who may or may not know, there is almost, I say almost, zero discoverability natively on Twitch. Meaning, I would say once upon a time, 10 years ago, if you streamed on Twitch, because nobody knew how to do it, if you played a video game on Twitch long enough, people would find your stream, and your stream would grow naturally as Twitch grew. That is not the case anymore. There are currently, I think last time I checked, there are currently 3 million active broadcasts daily on Twitch. So that's 3 million people streaming on the platform every day. 500,000 of them are affiliates, meaning they have 3 viewers or more. And I think over 31,000 of them are partners, meaning they have 71 or 75 viewers or more on average. It is very unlikely for you to just turn on your stream and have people find you on Twitch. This is also true on YouTube, at least in terms of live streaming at the very least. That being said, one of the best ways that I've seen growing on Twitch without having to do something on another platform is playing with other streamers. So everyone kind of looks at networking as a dirty word, and I personally don't look at it as networking, but it is very important to like find ways to reach out to other people who are doing the same thing as you, and find people to play with, to hang out with. I never look at it as like, people call this collabing, and it is very important to like collaborate, but I've never looked at it as like, hey, I want to find another streamer so I can play, so I can grow my stream. I've always looked at it as like, hey, here's a sea of people who also like playing the games I like. Let me see if there's somebody who I actually click with, so I can actually see if I'm having a good time, and not just naturally will grow your community. As it stands right now, that's probably one of the only ways to grow consistently on Twitch without having to do anything on Twitter, Instagram, or anything else. It's just playing with other streamers. This is why you see streamers who put Twitch in their name when they're playing like Fortnite or Apex or Dead by Daylight, or you'll see people who kind of hit people up. I don't recommend going into other streams and be like, hey guys, I'm a streamer, do you want to play? But I mean, if you're planning on growing on Twitch, spend some time watching some other streamers, find some people you like, figure out why you like them, and then see if maybe they might be down to play games with you. You don't necessarily always have to start with people the same size as you, but just find people you generally enjoy and see about interacting with those people. Don't just try to find people you think can make your stream bigger. Does that make sense? Alright, that's pretty much it. Networking is really important. Make friends. I know friends is hard. That's why we have conventions, so you can meet people and make friends. Yes? Maybe. Maybe. Define, what do you mean by self-promotion?
Like you're playing a game
this is a very divisive topic. Your current top streamers will tell you not to do that. I tell people to do that all the time. Me personally, I've always, like when I got started streaming, I found people found my stream because I had Twitch in my name. I used to not do it because every other top streamer's like, it's really tacky when people put Twitch TV in their name. Nobody likes them and nobody actually goes to their channel, blah, 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 blah. None of those things are actually true. The thing is, because those streamers have been streaming for so long, and again, the platform was much different when they grew up, that just wasn't a thing back then. But nowadays, because there's so many people playing games and just so many people on Twitch, that's one of the only ways you can find out if someone's a streamer. But for me personally, that's one, how so many people found my stream. I think I went from, when I first started streaming, to not having Twitch in my name. I went from maybe having 1 or 2 viewers stop by my stream, like new people stop by my stream a day, to anywhere to 10 to 20 new people stopping by my stream every day. Some of them were nice, some of them were not so nice. Some of them were happy we played together, some of them weren't so happy we played together. But the thing is, there was so much more new traffic to my stream, and it came simply from the fact that people knew I was live. And ultimately, I look at it like this: when you're playing a game, I wouldn't be obnoxious and go to other people's streams and drop your stream in their chat. But if I'm playing a game, same thing if I was playing, say, like basketball or something like that, or even as I'm here now, I'm wearing my Twitch shirt, I'm wearing my own jersey. You're going to be your first fan, you're going to be your biggest fan, your biggest promoter. I don't see anything wrong with going to your post-game chat or having your name like, hey, my name is XYZ at Twitch TV. If you got body and you want to come tell me about it, you know where to find me. But also, hey, if you had a really good time and you want to tell me how much you loved hanging out with me, you also know where to find me. Ultimately, the reason why people wear jerseys when they're playing big sports games is so that you know where they're from. And on the back of every one of their jerseys, it has their name so that you know who you are. Ultimately, when you're playing games, especially competitive games or anything like that, if you don't put your name out there, no one's going to know who you are. And honestly, if people don't want to see your name, they can turn on streamer mode. They can, even if they're not streamers, they can turn that on and they don't have to know who did what about anything, and they just see player and don't see your name anyway. And last thing, for anyone who has a streamer is like, well, my favorite streamer said that I shouldn't do it. This is going to be really mean. Your favorite streamer doesn't want you to succeed and doesn't care about your stream. They say that because they don't care, like it doesn't affect them. It annoys them to see your name in chat, but whether or not, like, I would say the meanest way I can say this is if you died tomorrow, they wouldn't care. They might care if they actually know them. I don't mean like a super negative sense, but like what happens to your stream isn't their problem. The only thing they care about is their stream and what's going on with their content. So they're not giving you that advice because they think it's what's best for you. They're giving you that advice because it's what's best for them and their stream. All right. Yeah.
You said something about communicating, making a network and playing with streamers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a viewer. I want to like play with a streamer. So it's gonna be like I'm a small time streamer and I want to make it big. So I want to stream with my favorite streamer.
Mm-hmm.
It's you versus the streamer and the whole world, aka the viewer. How can you explain this detailedly? Because this is kind of like it's a really tall order to. I mean, it's a very tall height to jump into.
So I'm going to try to rephrase your question to make sure I understand what you're asking. So you're asking, like, as a smaller streamer who's kind of like just growing up, who's like a viewer of another streamer, whether it's bigger, how do you go from like basically just being a viewer to like asking them to stream when like there's literally millions of people probably asking them to do the same thing every day? The simplest answer is just do it for it. No. The real answer would be just ask, but ultimately, there are going to be some people who don't like playing with viewers, and there are going to be some people who do like playing with viewers. Ultimately, you might have a favorite streamer who you really want to hang out and play with, but if they don't like playing with viewers or just don't want to play with anybody, then you just don't get to play with them. I would say is, I would spend more time seeking out people who are interested in playing with other people, whether they be viewers or streamers, and trying to find people who are already looking to play with other people that I click with, than trying to play with my favorite streamers. A prime example of this actually is for me personally is I came up through a game called Dead by Daylight. I started as like a nobody, 2 viewer, not even a 1 viewer Andy, which is basically me, watching my own stream while playing the game. And over the course of it, I went from like basically being brand new to being like a big Twitch partner. There was a streamer who I really looked up to named Sexy Hexy, who I always really wanted to play with. Like, I was in his chat all the time, I was sub to him, he was super funny, super cool, and I feel like we would get along, but he just never hit me up to play. Eventually, one of the days, like our birthdays are actually like 2 days apart from each other, so I hit him up on my birthday and asked him if he wanted to play, and he said yes, but we didn't play together, so I felt pretty bad. And eventually got to the point where even as I got to be a bigger streamer, or we're about the same level, and like even a partner myself, we still don't play together. He's played with a bunch of people I'm cool with, and I played with a bunch of people he's cool with, but for whatever reason, we just never seem to link up. And I feel bad because I feel like I'm the redheaded stepchild. But there's some people who you're just not going to be able to get to play with. So instead of focusing on that one person you really want to play with to like grow your stream, or even just to hang out with, just try to find people who are more interested and more open to it. And then if it happens down the line, cool. But if it doesn't, like, don't focus on like I have to play with Ninja or I have to play with this person, but just find people who just want to as opposed to it has to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And I don't know if there's questions over there. I see hands go up and then they go down. I'm like, are those questions or are these people stretching? I don't know. All right, cool. What else we got here? This is something really important that like a lot of streamers don't do. I don't know why they don't do it. Maybe they don't think to do it. Whenever you're streaming, thank the people who watch your stream, like often. For example, thank all of you guys, let me repeat it. Thank you all for being here today. You guys could be at literally any other panel or in the dealer's hall or doing anything else at the convention, but you all decided to like take time out of your day to come here and listen to me talk about playing video games for a living. Again, you don't even have to be at this expo. You could be at home, you could be eating pizza, you could be watching a new episode of My Hero Academia. You guys could literally be doing anything else, but you chose to be here, so thank you. See. What? Get a shirt. You gave me a heart. Get a shirt, see? Hey, well, I see you in the back, but it's very important when people do take time out to like spend time with you. Again, they could be doing anything else in the world, thank them. If they like follow you, give them a thank you. If they sub you, give them a thank you. If they just say hi, like, hey man, thanks for stopping by. Even if they come to the stream and say, hey man, Ninja was live, so I've got to go. But I came by your stream, like, you know what? Ninja is live, and I hope you enjoy your stream, but thank you for stopping by mine before going to the stream. Don't be mad at people if they leave. It's something kind of also off topic, but they still came by your stream to spend time with you. And again, they could have been doing anything else in the world, playing a game themselves, hanging out with a bigger streamer, hanging out with a smaller streamer, hanging out on, Patreon, or doing anything else. But they still decided to come to your stream. Make sure you thank them for spending that time with you, okay? Yes?
With that conversation going on, a lot of people tend to think like, if you grow big, you're going to suddenly not appreciate the followers you get. Because a lot of people who are popular, they get like thousands every day, and they don't always say it as often as they used to be small. So, would there be any way to like constantly like thank these people for following, but there's too many of them?
So something I actually took from Hexy, I think every person who followed my stream up until about 10,000. Once I had about over 10,000 followers, I stopped thanking every single person because at some point, there were nights where I was getting like 300 people a night, which is a lot to keep up with. That being said, you can always encourage people. One of the things I do is I don't necessarily thank every person who follows me. I'll encourage people like, hey, if you're new and chatting your first time and you just want to say hey, or I'll even say like, hey, we've got a lot of new people here. If this is your first time in the chat, I just want to say, hey, thank you for stopping by. Because sometimes it does become a little much to thank every single person who comes to your stream. Especially, it's one thing when you're sitting at 10 or 20 viewers and think everyone is there. It's another thing when you're at 1,900 viewers, because there's just a lot of people coming in and out of your stream at any given moment. But it is still very important. Take care, man. Thank you for coming. It's very important to let them know you care. So you don't necessarily have to thank every single person, but you can always take a moment out and say, hey man, one of the big things I do is at the end of the night, I'll be like, hey guys, at least the very end of my stream, hey guys, I'm gonna take off, but before I do, I wanna thank everybody who was here. I wanna thank everybody who came through. And if your name is Johnny, screw you, but everybody else thank, no, but I always take time out to basically thank everyone for watching the stream. Because again, like I said, they could be anywhere else, but they still chose to be here, so it's important to them to say, hey man, I appreciate you. You You smart. You don't have to be DJ Khaled. If you are DJ Khaled, giving them stuff also works. But if you are DJ Khaled, you can just say, I appreciate you. You smart. You loyal. I like that. Thank you. You know what I'm saying? Next question. All right, our next topic, I should say. And after this one, I'm gonna go to kind of like open questions. So if you guys have any open like switch questions or anything like that, feel free. But the next topic is choose your moderators for your stream wisely. How many of you guys stream and have mods in your chat? All right. How many of you stream and have mods that are in real life friends in your chat? All right. How many of you guys have had your mods say something that you don't like when they're streaming in your chat? All right. You need to time them out. Yeah. All right. So one of the things you guys do, the moderators, for those guys who don't know, moderators are basically people who are in your Twitch chat who basically help control your stream. So generally, when there's something inappropriate going on in your stream, they can time people out. They can also let people know about certain alerts. But ideally, you don't want your moderators to just be the bouncers. You want your moderators to be the ideal viewer. So I don't just mod people who are my friends. In fact, I ban most of my friends from my stream. He's like, I'm one of them. But the reason for this is because I want my friends, I'm really close to my friends, but my friends act really stupid. And I don't want that in my stream. So it's very important to if you're gonna give someone a sword, you want them to represent what you want other people to do. And more importantly, you want when you give someone a sword, nobody else can address that person when they act up except for you. For me personally, I'm a highly confrontational person. I'm not afraid of getting in someone's face about something. So if one of my friends does something inappropriate, I will stop what I'm doing and check it immediately. But if you aren't someone who likes to pick fights with your friends or something like that, then I personally don't recommend making a lot of your friends moderators. Simply because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, your mods represent your stream. If your mods are doing something inappropriately, that looks badly on you. I know plenty of viewers who don't watch people because of how their moderators act. There's plenty of streamers I like that I don't interact with because I don't like the moderators and how they run their chat. So it's very important to choose the people that represent you in your stream, very wisely. There's some streamers that I never even got to know because I don't mess with simply because of who they allow to moderate their stream. Because again, from my perspective, your moderators are a reflection of you. Just like if you're working for a store or working for this convention or a stream on a website, you're a reflection on that website. Your moderators are a reflection on your stream. So you need to be very cautious about the people you give that power. One horror story I'll give for this is a friend of mine had a viewer who's a huge supporter. They've known him since they started streaming, and they've been really close friends. This supporter had also been sub to them for over 5 years and had donated over $2,000 to stream over the course of it. Now they weren't close friends simply because they donated a lot of money, but this was just someone who'd been a huge supporter of them back when they were at basically 2 viewers to now when they average over 2,000 viewers in the regular. And they got an email from this person 6 months after this person stopped showing up in their stream randomly. Now they didn't know the person stopped showing up, they noticed they stopped showing up and had no idea why. They just thought maybe they were upset with them or something had happened. Little did they know that one of their moderators had banned them from the stream because they didn't like them without telling them while the stream was offline. And because the person didn't really use any other platforms like Twitter or anything like that, they had no way to get in contact with them or let them know why they were banned. And they honestly didn't even know that it wasn't the streamer who banned them. They assumed the streamer had gotten rid of them because they were upset with them about something. So, mind you, this person, there's someone, they ended up actually, the end of the story is after the email, they ended up rectifying things, and I guess now they're engaged to get married now, because they were really close friends, so I'm very happy they worked that out. But this is someone who is currently very important in their lives, and was very supportive at the time, and they didn't even know that they had left their life simply because of something their moderators did without their permission. So again, that's what I'm saying. It's very important if you choose to give that sword to, or who you choose to have that control over your stream, because again, they can have drastic impacts on not just the quality of your content, but as you see other parts of your life as well. Cool? What up?
Since you're on the topic, I heard it's a little toxic on Twitch. So would you rather have toxic viewers or no viewers at all?
So ultimately, your community on Twitch is pretty much, I use this a lot, your community on Twitch is like a garden. There's a lot of people who say it's super toxic on Twitch. It's not. There's a lot of people who allow toxic people to just kind of run around in the chat, but that's just, if you put 100 people in any place and you just kind of let whoever in, it's going to get pretty toxic because you can get a wide variety of people. And I was always going to be, but it could get pretty toxic. I think we have like 50 people in here. We're not toxic yet, right? We're pretty good. I'm toxic, but you guys are great. So, but ultimately, I would say I would rather have no viewers than have a toxic viewing. That being said, everyone who comes in who's like basically being mean doesn't necessarily mean they're toxic. I've had people come in like, this is probably my gaming talking, but like I've had people come in trash talking me to start off, like when they come into my stream, and sometimes we roast each other back and forth, but I've had people we roasted or joked around with who came at me mad, and they end up leaving my stream, like subscribing to my stream and then hanging out after that. So it's like, it's all about how you interact with them. But ultimately, I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think Twitch is super toxic. I just think that there are a lot of toxic people, and if you don't weed those people out, then yeah, your community can grow to be that way. For me personally, I have no problem banning people from my stream. But again, I'm super confrontational. I have like a bunch of rules listed in my chat, but the only rules we ever bring up is like, hey, having a sub badge doesn't protect you from the moderators, having a mod sword doesn't protect you from the broadcaster, and then Twitch staff, for those who know, have a wrench next to their name. And I used to work at Microsoft, so I thought it was like, having a wrench doesn't protect you from Microsoft. You can't ban me on Twitch if your Windows isn't working properly. What's going on?
So, me with Twitch, like I started like 2 months ago, and every time like I look through like Twitch DMs, and then like of course in chat sometimes they're like, yeah, I like your videos and all, and then they post like a random link to get overlays from their like store, and like, how do you get rid of those?
Bots.
Yeah, basically bots.
Yeah, it's like Nightbot. Like I said, the easiest way, one of the things you can do on Twitch is turn off whisper so people can't whisper that stuff to you. And sometimes those links can be viruses, so I don't recommend clicking those at all most of the time. But the easiest way to prevent that from happening in stream is if you have Nightbot, by default, he's set to time out anybody who posts a link in chat without permission. And it doesn't like ban them from the stream, but it just makes it so they can't post for 5 seconds and removes the link so nobody can click on it. That's usually one of the best ways to get rid of those, but they kind of exist everywhere. So like, I wouldn't stress out or freak out over them, but just get Nightbot, then just kind of out of sight, out of mind after that. Cool. Any other questions about moderators before we move on?
Not really about that,
Oh.
but how we work on having the confidence to stream and talk to people.
There's 2 ways to go. Well, I won't lie. How do I say this? There's 3 ways to go about it. One, you can have very ego-boosting parents. I'm extremely confident because my mother was like very loving and supportive of me my entire life. When I wanted to be a pianist, she bought me a light-up keyboard and taught me how to play the piano. When I wanted to be a doctor the next week, she bought me a book on how to be a doctor. When I wanted to be a veterinarian, the week after that, she bought me a book on how to be a veterinarian. And when I wanted to be a lawyer, 2 weeks after that, she bought me a bunch of seasons of Law and Order. I would say I've noticed I'm very confident in myself because my mother kind of always told me I could, whatever I wanted to do, I could do it. And she's always been very supportive of me in that way. That's probably like one of the funniest stories in my life is I took the military ASVAB test to kind of see what I wanted to do in my life. And they're just like, hey dude, like you scored a 92, so that's actually really good. It means you can do whatever you want. And I was like, cool. My mom told me that when I was 6. It's gonna save 2 hours of my life. But that's one way is just having, if you don't necessarily have like a family that's super supportive, you can find friends who are super supportive and hang around people. There are people who love to just gas people up, try to find people, I would say everybody has a hype man, but everybody needs a hype man. And sometimes you might have a friend who's just like, yo dude, I'm gonna do a backflip. And there's like, even if they know there's no way you can do a backflip, that one friend is like, you know what man, I got you. And even if you don't, I got you to the hospital. And if we're broke, I ain't got you, but I'll get you a cheeseburger afterwards, dog. Like, try to find a hype man. I'm a hype man if you need one. I'm not really for hire, but you can still find me around. Nah. But that's one of the best ways to do it. Another way, I would say a darker way to deal with it would just be to have not care about what other people think. This is kind of the other side of me. I have a very low opinion of people I don't know. Not because I dislike them or anything like that, but when I was younger, I read a book called The Slight Edge. And basically the book, it's a really good success book. It talks about a lot of different things, but one of the things it brings up is at your funeral, the only people you should care about is the people that are going to show up to your funeral. And then one of the things it mentions is if you have, say when you die and you have your funeral, not if, unfortunately, but when you have your funeral, one of the things they've tracked in the stats, just kind of in life for whatever reason, is if it rains on your funeral day, half the people who are going to show up won't show up because it's raining. I don't care about anyone who's not going to show up at my funeral when it's raining. The only people's opinion that I give any weight to are the people that I feel like will be there on that day. And the only people, in my opinion, who like have people wait through the rain are like really important and successful people like Martin Luther King or Michael Jackson. People will show up for their funerals, rain, sleet, or snow, even if they haven't nothing. You take care. So I would say, not because they don't matter as people, but ultimately they don't care about you, so I wouldn't care about what other people think about me. And so I try to, generally, if it's not my mom telling me I'm the most amazing person in the world, then it's usually that is what motivates me to just kind of push forward and be confident in myself, regardless of what other people might say or think about me. I channel a lot of Kanye West. A lot of people don't like Kanye West, but he's really good at that if you guys haven't heard. But anyway, I got some more stuff, but I think this is pretty good for that. I kind of want to open up to just general questions. If anybody has like any general streaming questions or anything like that for growing on Twitch, growing on YouTube, building a platform. Unlike a lot of streamers, I'm super open about like what I do, how much I make and stuff like that. Or I've like I normally do a panel, but I'm not doing it this year, called The Dark Side of Twitch, where I talk about like a lot of no-no stuff. But I mean, if you want to talk to me about like relationships, girlfriends, boyfriends, like people hitting you up inappropriately, if there's any questions you guys have about streaming in general that just you want to know more information about, please feel free. I'm an open book, so are you patting your head or raising your hand? Okay. What do you got?
Alright, so something that you've been hyper supportive as far as what me and you know about is your use of multi-platform situations such as YouTube, Facebook, etc. Now granted, something you've been hyper critical of me lately is my transition to completely be multi-platform.
Yes.
So as most of you may know, there are more platforms than Twitch. There's Mixer, there's YouTube Streaming, there's Expo, all of those. Now, as somebody who utilizes every single one of those, like I stream on Twitch, my biggest one is Mixer right now, of course. How would you explain this, or how would you kind of discuss the pros and cons of being technically a variety platform stream?
So to rephrase your question, just to make sure I understand, you're wondering, are you asking my thoughts on streaming on multiple platforms?
Yes, it's not just like YouTube content or something. I mean, just live streaming.
Alright. So my honest opinion on this, I think you may have misinterpreted when I'm talking about it before. My honest opinion on it is, I personally feel like people should stream on like as many platforms as possible, all at the same time. Now, if you're a Twitch affiliate, they won't let you do this. In fact, most platforms, once you partner with them, won't let you do this. And if you're a Twitch partner like myself, you're actually just not allowed to stream on other platforms. Like I have an exclusive contract with Twitch and Amazon basically where I only stream like my live gaming content on Twitch. That being said, like I personally love the mindset that the exclusivity clause is one of the dumbest things in the Twitch contract, but I'm actually working with a group of streamers to like fight against the exclusivity clause, because in my personal opinion, it's probably the thing that hurts Twitch streamers' growth. May not hurt Twitch. I think it helps Twitch, but it probably hurts Twitch streamers' growth more than anything else. And if you wanted my honest opinion, I would say that you should stream on all three platforms, but at the same time. Most of the other people in my field, both stream coaches and even some other bigger streamers, disagree with this. The reason why I don't care about their opinion is one, the platforms were a lot bigger, a lot different when they started streaming, and it's a much different field now. Ultimately, if I were to get biblical, Jesus went to the people. I would much rather my mother watch me on Facebook if that's what she's comfortable watching me, since she already knows how to use Facebook, than try to teach her how to use Twitch or to come on Twitch to watch me. And ultimately, that would give me the widest reach. A part of my reasoning, I guess part of the things I tell a lot of newer streamers, especially if you're brand new, I always tell them to utilize a program called Restream and stream on all 4 platforms at the same time, simply because at that point you're reaching out to the widest audience. And I argue that unless you feel like you know you're going to make over $100 a month being an affiliate on Twitch, I wouldn't sign an affiliate contract with Twitch until you get to the point where you're making a sizable income from it, simply because it's not worth it. The stunted growth by not being able to be on multiple platforms, I feel like is too great. And what I would say though is if you're planning on being on multiple platforms, maybe have a day, maybe have like one day a week dedicated to just one platform. So say like Monday I stream on everybody, and then Tuesday is only Twitch, Wednesday's only Mixer, Thursday's only Facebook, and then Friday I stream everywhere again. Just to again kind of have some personal one-on-one days with those, but ultimately, I don't think it hurts you. There's a lot of people who say it makes you look desperate is the biggest argument against not streaming on multiple platforms at once. My argument would be like, one, you kind of are desperate because you're new. I don't mean that in the sense of like, you want to have every single viewer, but like, you're trying to grow. You are desperately trying to do something you've never done before. And two, the only people who actually say like you look desperate were a lot of either really big streamers or Twitch executives from like old school Twitch, which is fine for them to say that or be that way, but they did that because they wanted people to only be on Twitch's platform. This isn't something that they created to help streamers, it was something created to help Twitch as a platform, and in my honest opinion, Twitch only cares about you as much as you help them. So they're never going to have your best interest at heart, they're always going to have their best interest at heart, and your best interest is going to be on streaming at many platforms as possible. Honestly, just putting yourself out there on many platforms as possible, whether that's streaming or doing anything else. In the back, May?
So, to further on that, I've heard that it's harder to communicate with your chat when you're on 4 different streams. So like, if you're focusing on Twitch and you're streaming 3 other places, how are the other people supposed to communicate with you on Twitch?
One way actually to get through this, Destiny. If you guys know a streamer named Destiny or Stephen Bonnell, does anybody know about this guy? He's a really big political streamer. One of the actual, I was like slowly moving this mic closer to my mouth and didn't realize it. I'm like, wait, when the did you get here? Anyway, one way to actually do it. So Destiny has his own website called Destiny.gg, and he actually has a chat on his website that basically is integrated, so people on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook can all log into or just log into a regular website. And that's generally the only chat that he reads. He does have his Twitch chat, but he pretty much only reads his DGG chat. Another thing that some people are working on is actually an integrated chat. If you guys have ever used Streamlabs, they have like a box that'll let your chat pop up on stream. And they're working on a way to integrate it to where essentially what some streamers do is they'll have their chats on screen when they're streaming on other platforms. So even though people may not see it and say like you don't see it on YouTube, you still see that someone asked that question on Twitch chat, so they still understand what questions you're asking. But generally the easiest way would be to use something like Streamlabs that can integrate all the chats into one place so that you're reading all the chats, or just be really good at multitasking. But yeah, that would be the only reason why I'd recommend not doing multiple platforms is if you're really bad at multitasking, or if you're just really bad at reading Twitch. I wouldn't ask you to try to read Twitch and YouTube if you don't read Twitch chat. But that's one of my tips in my beginner's guide is you should always be reading your chat though. So once you get really good at one, then you can add more on top of that. But like as you get better. Cool. In the back and in the front. What's up?
I scroll through Twitch every now and then. Do you know a Twitch streamer called Greek?
Greek.x?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to talk about like you always see them like reacting to videos almost like 24/7 on Twitch. And I stay there for a while and they just laugh and then that's the entire stream. They just start laughing through the videos. How do you feel about that?
You basically want to know my thoughts on React content based on Twitch. One of the cool things about Twitch is I've been in the industry for a really long time. So even before I was a full-time Twitch streamer, I was a YouTube consultant and helped like a bunch of other smaller YouTubers get to the point where like they have 1 million subscribers. One of the cool things about Twitch is like basically about 5 years behind YouTube in a lot of different ways. So if you look at where YouTube is now, that's a big indicator of where Twitch and content is going, other content is going in the future. So if any of you guys, if you've been watching YouTube for a while, you notice about 5 years ago, there was a really big trend where all the people doing on YouTube was just reacting to other people's YouTube videos, right? That's kind of the current meta on Twitch. As I started the panel mentioning, one of the current biggest streamers right now, Trainwrecks TV, spends every Saturday just reacting to Gordon Ramsay every night on Twitch is one of the biggest streamers. In terms of the content itself, I don't hate it. I think there is better content out there, but I don't dictate what good content is. The market dictates what good content is. That being said, I understand the enjoyment of that type of content. Ultimately, when you've built a relationship with your viewers or your community, it's not you're watching the streamer watching videos. To the people watching them, you're watching it with your friends. So I'm sure even though like you guys, some people may think it's really silly to like, why do you guys just watch this guy watch YouTube videos? But at the same time, I'm sure you probably spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos with your friends or with your family and things like that all the time. That's essentially, they're just doing the exact same thing, but on a larger scale. The reason they're able to do it to such a large viewership though, is because they've already built that relationship with their viewers. And then on top of that, like I said, with the story-based games earlier, there are some people who've already seen that video 3 times, but just want to see their friend's reaction or their favorite streamer's reaction to said video. That being said, I don't think it's going to last too long. The only reason why Twitch is able to get away with it is because Twitch is such a small platform. I know Twitch is the largest streaming website right now, but in terms of the internet overall, it's ranked number 73 in the US and like 107 in like the world generally, so it's not one of the biggest websites, as opposed to YouTube, which is the 4th most used website in the world right now. And you guys can see, like in terms of copyright claims and whatnot, what's going on YouTube because it's so popular. Literally, you watch 5 seconds of anybody else's stuff, and now you're getting flagged. Or I think Mr. Beast got flagged for singing "Happy Birthday" in one of his videos. Yeah, it was 5 seconds of the video. They were singing "Happy Birthday" or something, and they got copyright claim. Not even just like playing the song, just actually going "Happy Birthday to Claim." No, but yeah, so that happened. So. In terms of like where YouTube or where content's going, I don't see React content going anywhere any soon, but I don't see a lot of people growing from it, if that makes sense. And on top of that, I think that reaction content itself has some value. Maybe not just the raw reacts, like what a lot of like Greek God or Trainwrecks does, but like for example, I don't just do raw reactions, but like I will do YouTube video whenever there's like a big discussion in the anime industry or gaming industry. If someone has a video going into something or breaking down a big story, I will commonly play their video and watch their video on stream, and then give my thoughts and commentary based on the information gained from that video. I think that those are probably going to be more prominent in the future, and there'll be less people just watching full episodes of like Hell's Kitchen pretty soon. Not yet, but pretty soon. In terms of where Twitch is going, the big thing actually that most people should be focusing on in terms of like long form content on Twitch is going to be podcasts or some sort of podcasting. Whether it's about a particular thing you like, a game, a video, an anime, a hobby. As you guys probably see on YouTube, every big YouTuber is either has a podcast or is on a podcast regularly. And 2 of the biggest YouTubers right now, like who've blown up recently, has been Joe Rogan and H3H3. And literally all they do is sit and talk to somebody they know that's cool for like 2 or 3 hours. And they probably make more money than any other YouTuber right now doing it. The only other YouTuber who's competing with them is Mr. Beast, and he's a whole other beast in and of itself. And then, right there, right? Yeah.
Just to piggyback on what you said, once you're unlocked, can you brand spanking new? What platform would you stream from? Either 4 or 5?
Brand speaking new, I would stream on all, if I could choose, I would stream on all 4 or 5. There's actually like 8, but because whether it's Facebook, Twitch, DLive, Caffeine, Mixer, YouTube, Stream.me, I think it's still a thing, so there's a lot. Yeah, TikTok does have live, and Instagram has live as well. If you're brand speaking new, if you're doing game streaming, I would do all of them. If you could only pick one to stream on, right now, I think the fastest growing for new game streamers is Facebook right now. And it's probably going to see the most growth for new game streamers. If you had to pick one. But again, I would probably do all of them, and I would at least do like all three. Like I would say stream on Mixer, Facebook, and Twitch until you get affiliate, and I wouldn't even take affiliate until you know you were going to get, I would say 40 or more subs from it. And then after streaming on all of them, if you decide to go with one or the other, I would maybe see about getting a deal with Facebook or Mixer, or then maybe doing like affiliate or partnership with Twitch if you think you get more subs from it. In terms of gaming and growth though, like Twitch is probably still best for gaming, but not 100%. Like the growth of you'll grow and make money a lot more faster on Facebook than you would on Twitch right now. That being said, all of them are great if you do everything else I talked about and are really consistent. All of them still have growth metrics. And like you can, like I said, I took my girlfriend from never streamed before on Twitch, like playing Donkey Kong Country to within 90 days. Her Twitch check as an affiliate at the end of her 90th day was like $300. And she had only streamed the first 2 weeks of that month, and she spent the next 2 weeks going to Disneyland, or Disney World, whatever one of those. After that, she got pregnant. I don't know. I'm not responsible for that. I don't know what happened. But yeah, anyway. Any other questions about like Twitch or anything at all? Like, going up that? Okay.
So, how big of a part does Twitch play in the pro scene as far as gaming goes?
Right now, it's probably a really big thing. YouTube is making a really big play for esports. So, in terms of all of Twitch's content, esports is about 20% of all things watched on Twitch. That being said, as you guys may or may not have heard, YouTube just bought the rights to Call of Duty League, Overwatch League, and the professional Warcraft scene. So that means both, they don't have the Race to the World First officially, but they have a big part of the Race to the World First, the Mythic Dungeon Invitational, and the World of Warcraft arenas. And I'm assuming this will be going forward for any of other Blizzard's games as well. And League of Legends already doesn't have a partnership with Twitch, so they stream on both Twitch and YouTube. And I think the viewership League gets on YouTube is double what it gets on Twitch. So if you are like strictly esports, as of right now, or strictly pro scene gaming, Twitch is still better for growth, but that may be changing within the next year. Like just simply because of like moves that YouTube's making and mistakes that Twitch has been making over the last year.
So it really all depends on the game?
It does very much depend on the game for sure. As of right now, I would say if you're a pro gamer at any game, you will probably grow faster on Twitch today. That may not be the case next year. Does that make sense? Cool. You guys can ask anything. I know this is like not to toot my own home, but I play video games full time for a living. Like, if you guys have any questions at all, like, feel free. I'm not shy. You can ask me how much I make. It's $0. Make nothing at all. No. Go ahead. Yeah, you can.
Favorite Sonic game?
Huh?
Favorite Sonic game?
Someone asked me this recently too. I'm stuck between Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Good choice.
I'm like, alright, so Sonic Adventure is super dope simply because it's Sonic Adventure and it's like, I don't care what anyone says, it's a 3D Sonic, it's like just amazing. And going Super Sonic for the first time to fight Chaos is like epic, right? But I've probably played Rainbow City Escape more times than any first level in any game ever. And I know the entire, I have the soundtrack to that game on my phone. And for first game song and final game song, probably has the best tracks ever, just period, out of those types of stuff. So I know all of Live and Learn. I can sing it on repeat in my head. And I know all of running around at the speed of sound. No. Also, the Sonic movie, super missed opportunity. They had Sonic in San Francisco with a truck and didn't play the track. I'm very upset about that.
Good choices.
You in the background? Yeah.
Best champions, solo carry in League of Legends.
Low key right now, best champion of solo carry in League of Legends is Nocturne, which is why I've been one-tricking in mid lane, with a 92% win rate.
I see they were
Yeah, the only other person who can from the mid lane who can carry as hard as Nocturne if they snowball I want to say is Katarina or Cassidy. The only reason why Nocturne works better than both of them is because Katarina has to get fed early in order to be able to carry, and Cassidy has to get level 16 before he's able to carry. So both of them like have a really solid lose condition. Noxon, on the other hand, can lose lane, still 1v1 half of the people in the game except for the person he lost lane to, and split pushes tower faster than both of them. Which is kind of like, for solo queue meta, is kind of like the most important thing.
And you really hate Kali, don't you?
I do, well, I mean, I don't hit a Kali, Riot hates a Kali. So they nerfed her into the ground. She has like a 40 win rate right now. I also do ban a Kali though, because that's the only thing that counters that Nocturne though. There's someone else before you though. I don't know if they raised their hand, but I know you in red and you are fine. Yeah, go ahead.
So with every Twitch streamer, do you yourself have a plan that, Twitch and YouTube would backfire on you?
Me personally, yes. One of the big things is I do stream coaching, so like outside of just streaming on Twitch itself, I actually sell like one-on-one coaching with streamers. So I do one-on-one sessions where I help people. I've worked with people as small as like brand new streamers, like I said, like a lot of my friends, my girlfriend. I also work with larger streamers, like for example, I'm the video editor for Devin Nash, who's like a really big streaming analytics guy or whatever. And then I also work with like a lot of big YouTubers and stuff like that. So a lot of what I do now is outside of just streaming. So even if say YouTube and Twitch both crash and burn, I'm like there's still gonna be people who are live streaming somewhere. So whether it's on Mixer, Facebook, or anywhere else, I sell coaching to like help those people get started. And then also I speak at events like this, and sometimes I get paid to speak at events and live courses and stuff like that as well. So I do have a plan in the event that either of those platforms fail or both of them fail. So that would be. I recommend everyone be on as many platforms as possible because you could always get Alex Jones, or you just get banned from everything at the same time. And if that happens, you know what I mean. A lot of people thought Alex Jones was going to disappear, but even though he got banned from literally every single platform at the same time, he already had his own website that had a subscription that he sent everybody to. So even when he lost everything else, everybody just went to his website and followed his crazy ass. Just went to his website and subscribed to him there. So, you here?
Alright, so what would advice you give to somebody that started, got affiliate, jumped on board right away, and then completely lost the following after that? Would you say stick with Twitch or just try a different platform for the hell of it?
So if you got affiliate and then basically like you had a following and then just kind of like disappeared due to game change or whatever. One of the cool things about starting fresh is that you can start fresh. I know that sounds like rough, but a lot of people think it is really hard starting with like very few viewers or no viewers. But as hard as that is, it's as someone who's been through both multiple times, it's not harder than having a really big viewership and then switching to a different game. If you guys have ever seen a lot of your favorite streamers on Twitch, if they have a game they're known for, it is very hard to go from the game they're known for to doing something else entirely. No matter how many people think that there are a bunch of variety streamers on Twitch, there are very few actually variety streamers. Even the people who don't do variety content, like say Trainwreck is a good example, he mostly just watches Gordon Ramsay, right? If he reacts to YouTube videos, he can react to YouTube videos of 12,000 viewers. If he decides to play CSGO, he only gets 1,000 viewers if he starts a stream with that. So, and for me personally, for as a mental hit, it's a lot harder to be really big and try to switch to do something new and then have no viewers than be very small, because then you can kind of be the world as your oyster, if you would. That being said though, one of the things I say, if you're restarting, starting off almost brand new, what I recommend is don't focus so much on the stream itself. Maybe have 2 or 3 days where you focus on streaming to regrow, but spend more of your time focusing on making either YouTube videos or Twitter videos or Instagram videos or something else to help grow you off a platform, because that'll do way more for you than trying to restart from scratch at 0 on Twitch. So I would maybe say stream straight 3 days a week, 4 hours of stream, and then the other 2 days a week you're spending the 4 hours making a YouTube video, making a Twitter video, or making an Instagram video. And if you don't want to say make the video yourself, or you just don't know how or don't like it, find something you can do during those other 2 days to make $30, and then pay someone on Fiverr to make you a YouTube video once a week. It would be the best thing I'd recommend. You can get someone to make you a highlight video on Fiverr for $30 to $50. That's what I did before I started editing my own videos, and it's way better to have content on other platforms like YouTube or Instagram where you can be discovered to grow your Twitch stream than just trying to stream all day to grow your stream like over and over from just streaming all day on a platform. Cool?
Have you had anyone try to cancel you as a Twitch streamer or a content creator because they found dirt on you in the past, whether it be like it's true facts or false accusations?
Yes, multiple times. So one of the things, as I mentioned before, I'm a very confrontational person. If I'm mad at you, you're gonna know it. If I don't like you, you're gonna know it. If you mess me over, you're gonna know it. That being said, I'm also extremely honest. One of the most important things I said before is being genuine. And then I would say one of them, I'm a very aggressive person, but I'm also a very nice guy, and I'm not a douche, right? I am a good person, so I'm not afraid of anything that I say, and anything I said to you in private, I'll also say to you in public. The two situations I have personally, I got into a fight with a person who was a friend of mine. We were streaming. They did something really disrespectful because they were just wanted to show off because they had a big viewership host and they had a bunch of viewers that night, and they wanted to show off or whatever. And so what they wanted to do is they wanted to do the whole, I'm going to talk trash about you on stream, but I'm going to be apologizing to you in DMs, and I was having none of it. So I cursed them out. I called them a bunch of names, nothing too inappropriate, but nothing like super edgy, and I don't do like any racial or bigotry or anything like that. But I did go in on him. And after going in on him, he leaked our private DMs to try to like expose me. He's like, see, Shino's not a really nice guy. He was like being really mean. He said all this stuff to me in DMs. And all everybody said was, yeah, he showed us on stream while he was DMing you and roasting the comment. And the other situation was, it was another private matter where I was dealing with a girl and one of her friends. And basically we were going through a rocky relationship and I was breaking things off. Mainly because one of her friends was just kind of being a dick and kind of pissing me off, and I didn't want to do anything to do with any of them. And he also went and tried to leak our DMs, but again, anything I've said in private, I'll proudly say in public because I know who I am and I'm proud of who I am. So in both of those attempts, it didn't do any damage to me because again, people already knew who I was. Nothing that came out from the private messages was something that people would see like, oh man, I never thought Sheena would call somebody stupid. I know, that's crazy. Shino just seems like such a nice guy. It's like, no, I've seen Shino tell people to shut up before. I've seen tell people to F off before and stuff like that. So nothing came out that wasn't already me. That's why for me personally, I say it's very important. You guys see about all these scandals coming up all the time, Change Charles, Pro Jared, the list could literally go on and on about like people who've had huge scandals or things happen to them. And honestly, it's one, because they're just not being true to who they are, and they're just not being honest with themselves and their community. I'm very honest. Like I said, if there's any questions you want to ask me, I'm always very blunt with it. I'm always very honest about it, and I don't hide. There's things I keep private, but I don't hide who I am from the people I'm dealing with. My goal is not to do business with everyone who wants what I have. My goal is to do business with people who think like me or people who believe what I believe. So I'm no problem like laying all my cards on the table because at the end of the day, I know what I bring to the table, and I'm not afraid to eat alone if that's what I have to do. But anyway, being a whole bunch of blah, blah, blah. You had a question? And then I'll get you in the back.
What have you made with Clip Studio Paint? Can you show us?
Huh?
I see you have a Clip Studio Paint icon.
I do have a Clip Studio Paint icon.
What have you made on
I have not made anything. I used to try to do, if you guys have ever seen Suzy on YouTube, I used to try to get into basically doing YouTube storytelling, so I got that. But I actually originally bought the Surface for somebody I was working with. I used to work with a bunch of street artists and drawers and stuff like that. And so I bought this to help them, one, so I can do events like this and have a computer I needed to, but two, to help them be able to basically, basically do digital artwork was what they were trying to break into. Like I said, I used to work with someone who wanted to get into speed drawing, wanted to get into artwork on Twitch. Took her from never having a YouTube video. Her first YouTube video still sits on YouTube to this day with over 1,000 views, even though she had no subscribers, because I basically taught her everything I knew from the start. And one of the things she needed to draw digitally or physically was Clip Studio, so I ended up picking it up and installing it on the Surface for her. That's why it's there. I do intend to use it, but I don't use it yet. All right, you in the back?
For someone wanting to transition from having 0 viewers to affiliate to partner, what would you say some of the bigger challenges were and how you overcame them?
Biggest challenge, I would say there's like three major chasms when starting out streaming. When you're just starting out, having nobody in your chat is rough because you feel stupid sitting there talking to yourself. The only way to get over that is just to keep doing it. Eventually, it won't feel as bad anymore because you'll just get used to doing it. Kind of like anything you're bad at, just like when you're playing basketball for the first time or skating for the first time. I think my brother told me, I told him, I was like, hey, I want to learn how to skate. He's like, cool, dog. And he just kind of walked in front of me and laid on the ground. And he's like, come down. And I laid on the ground. He was like, get used to this, because you're going to do this a lot. Just lay on the ground. But eventually, you won't feel bad about it anymore. So he's like, one of the best things you can do to learn how to skate is just go on the ball and lay on the ground in front of people, because you're going to be doing a lot of that. At first, it's really awkward and you feel really weird, but eventually you'll get used to it. Same thing with like streaming. When you have no viewers, the most important thing you can do is just keep talking and practice talking to yourself. It'll feel awkward at first, but eventually, that's how people find your stream and stay. When they find your stream, stay in your stream, and eventually it'll get to the point where it doesn't feel awkward to do it anymore. The next gap that I remember was getting from 5 viewers to 10 viewers, which doesn't sound that hard, but was probably like one of the hardest gaps that I ever had to deal with personally. I was streaming, and I had buddies I streamed with or whatever, and for the longest, I stayed between 5 or 6 viewers, and they would be 10 to 20, and I couldn't figure out, because I felt like we were doing the same thing, I couldn't figure out what it was they were doing differently that got people in, got more people on the stream while I stayed at 5. The way I overcame that, honestly, was just by staying consistently to it. That's not something that disappears because of one thing that you do. The only thing that gets you from 5 to 20 viewers is being there consistently. The problem is most people stop before they get there. If you guys have ever seen that picture of the guy who's picking at diamonds, and one guy keeps going, and then one guy stops right before he gets to the diamonds, and the other guy basically breaks through. It's literally just one day. It seems like it's one day, but it's not the one day, it's all of the days leading up to it. Another example of this is when I got partnered, I did a 30-day challenge to get I was like, I'm gonna stream every single day or until I got partnered, and to try to build hype for my stream. And so everyone always asks me, well, that was a really cool challenge. So did you notice any growth from it? I was like, no. It's when did people, did nobody get hyped about your 30-day challenge? It's eventually, it's what day do you think people really got hyped for your 30-day challenge? Day 31. But had I quit any time before day 1 to 30, no, I wouldn't have even noticed a difference from streaming every single day. But I usually at the time I was starting my stream to 20 viewers and would stream to 30 for the night. On day 31, I started my stream to 40 viewers. And but mind you, on every other day before that, some days I was at 8, some days I was at 5, some days I was at 10. It wasn't until day 31 that I had way more viewers than I normally have. And then from there forward, it wasn't, I said I was gonna do it for 30 days until I got partnered. I didn't get partnered until day 139. So, but I did every single day, no days off, immediately after work. If I had to take a nap, if my internet went down, I would use my cell phone as a hotspot, or just walk around and do a live stream with my cell phone. I did no days off, but had I quit any other time before that, before day 139, then I wouldn't have made it. And so many people who are trying to do it, they'll get all the way to day 30 and then stop. And this isn't working. Nobody new's coming to my stream. And like I said, it was day 31 that I went from averaging 20 viewers when I started my stream to averaging 40 viewers. But most people don't even make it to day 30, let alone the people who will hit day 30 and then stop there because well, screw it. This is what I said I was going to do. And the last gap, I would say, is between, the last hardest gap of growth, I think, is between 40 viewers and then 100 viewers based on getting partnered. I spent probably, I had a lot of extra issues that most streamers don't have, but I spent probably a year trying to overcome that due to all the other issues I had. But there'll be so many times where like I was like at 75 viewers and Twitch just said no to partnership, or just like my internet went down for like what seemed like a month straight, or you know I just had like a really crappy like situation happen at work where they were calling me in every other day or every other this day or whatever. And ultimately the way I overcame that was just being 100% dedicated and laser focused on what I wanted to do. When I decided I was going for Twitch Partner, when I made like the decision at that point for the 30-day challenge, was like, I'm streaming for the next 30 days or until I get partner. Nothing took me from my stream. There were girls who hit me up. Oh, there were girls who hit me up. I miss birthdays, I miss weddings, I miss Marvel movies. If I could not stream and do whatever other thing I wanted to do, then I did not do those other things. And that was just the end of the day. My birthday happened during during my stint. It was, I got partnered January 19th. My birthday was December 10th. On my birthday, my mother lives in Georgia. My mother doesn't live here. She's a beloved mother. As you guys heard before, I love my mother. She's always been there for me. My mother lives in Georgia. Hadn't seen her since 2000. I hadn't seen her since 2012 when my grandparents died. Give me a moment. Get emotional. Hold on. Water. Ooh. All right. So, while I was on based on my 119-day challenge at this point to get partnered, on my birthday, my mother flew out from Georgia to surprise me. Unfortunately, I had already made plans for my birthday to do a challenge. So for my birthday, I decided I was going to do a 26-hour stream for my 26th birthday. So I streamed, even though, normally good. It's just thinking about a lot of stuff going on. It's just like, I love you, Mama. But she flew in to see me like for my birthday because she wants to spend my birthday with me. That being said, though, I had already made the commitment to it. I was basically at the point where I was about to get Twitch Partner, which is waiting to the point to get there. And so, even though I took 30 minutes on my way home from work the day before my birthday, and I was like, hey, Mom, I'm going to spend some time with you. I want to hang out with you. But, the only thing I can explain to you is, I'm basically at the equivalent where I'm about to be signed to the NBA league. I'm nowhere close to being Michael Jordan, but I'm still at the point where, I'm about to get signed to the league. I can't skip this day. I know you came all this way just to see me, and I appreciate that, and I love you for that, but I have to make this happen. And as much as I love you, I'm not going to give up. The only reason I'm here is because of everything you gave for me, and I'm not going to give that up now, even if it's just to see you for this one day, simply so that I can make sure that everything you gave before this was worth it. Because like I said, I hadn't seen her for 8 years before that, or however many years before that. And for me, I was at the point where I was like, I'm going to do this so that I can pay for the things that my mother deserves. She gave me everything when I was a child, even when we had nothing. And I wasn't going to give that up for the, I don't want to say the vanity, but for the vanity of spending one day with my mother, because I couldn't give her the things that I wanted when I wanted to give her to her. So it was, compared to that, everything else I had to skip meant nothing. The birthdays, the weddings, the movies, nothing. But when I decided I was getting partnered, there was nothing that was going to get in my way, because there were things I promised my mother to give her before she passed, and I wasn't going to let that day be the day that I don't do it. I wasn't going to let that day be the excuse that she doesn't have the things that she deserves. So yeah, that was the hardest part. Yeah. Kigurumi, that's there you go. No, thanks, we can do a group hug afterwards. I think they're gonna kick us out of here pretty soon. We can do a group hug afterwards. I'm down for that. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah. So
Back to the self-promoting part. When it comes to using Twitter, what's the best way to do it for you? The hashtags or retweeting bots if you were
Retweet bots are trash. Don't fuck with them. Sorry, I know it's like cursing down, but retweeting bots do absolutely nothing. The hashtag support small streamers, unfortunately, does absolutely nothing for you. I don't hate it. I don't care about support small streamers. I actually go through the hashtag every once in a blue moon to check out people. But they don't really do anything for you, to be completely honest. If you're going to be on, when it comes to things like hashtags, and Twitter especially, Twitter and Instagram are wildly different when it comes to hashtags. When you're on Twitter, you don't even need to use hashtags these days on Twitter. The way Twitter's set up now, they're moving away from the hashtag system. But if you are going to use the hashtags, you want to keep it to no more than 3. The only 3 things you should, in my opinion, ever have hashtag or added in your Twitter tweet about your stream is the game you're playing, so that you come up with a topic on Twitter. If you have a crew or a name for your community, like I call mine the Pizza Friday crew, so anybody tweeting about something involving Pizza Friday always tweets hashtag Pizza Friday or hashtag Pizza Friday crew, so that people know when there's something involving us going around. And then maybe yourself. But other than that, usually that's why I say you want to keep it to no more than 2 or 3. The only thing that matters is your community hashtag and your game hashtag, just so you can be in the game conversation. And if you're doing like an ad deal or something like that, doing hashtag sponsor and hashtag ad, just so that you're an FTC guideline and all that other stuff. For Instagram, on the other hand, the more hashtags, the better. You want to find the top 10 relevant hashtags for whatever it is you're doing, and use those hashtags. So Twitch streamer, Twitch affiliate, Twitch partner, the game you're playing, funny moments in the game you're playing, Twitch fails. On Instagram, you basically want to put whatever message you're going to put the video, do ... and then as many hashtags as you can. Gotcha. As many hashtags as you can. But that's just how it works. In terms of how to grow on Twitter, though, 2 important things that, one, every time you go live, you should tweet that you're going live on your Twitter. The flip side of that, though, whenever your stream is done, you need to delete that tweet. This is kind of like a super analytical thing that I'm not going to have time to get into now. But the long story short is, having your Twitter to be like, let people know when you're going live is extremely important. But it hurts your stream if someone clicks on your tweet to go to your stream and you're not live. So when you're going live, you need to tweet it out so that people know they can find you. But as soon as your stream is off, those tweets need to be removed so that people don't go there looking for you and get disappointed. It's like a whole psychological, analytical thing that, like, unfortunately, I don't have time to go into today because they're getting ready to kick us out of here. But it is very important that you do that. But yeah. Any other questions? I got time for like maybe 2 more, and then they're going to throw us out of here. Yes, you. So burnout is actually a really huge issue on Twitch. A lot of people complain about it on YouTube, and it is bad on YouTube, but it's actually way worse on Twitch. People just don't notice it. So generally in Twitch, the thing, you don't get stream burnout for most. What most streamers will get is game burnout, which is something that kind of naturally happens to any game where, like, eventually you just get sick of the game you're playing. Whether it's just because you just played the game too much, or the devs are doing something stupid, or a combination of the 2. Like for me, for example, I used to love Dead by Daylight. It's the game that basically gave me the career I have today. I have like over 6,000 hours in that game on PC. I have another like 500 on Xbox, another 500 on PlayStation, and I have like 200 on mobile and 100 on the Nintendo Switch. I cannot stand that game anymore. People still talk to me about that game. The game is trash. I hate it. Never want to look at the game again. Probably gonna play the game next week. The easiest way to avoid burnout, one of the best ways I got started streaming was I would stream just the games I was playing because I was going to be playing anyway. That's one of the best ways to grow your stream. That being said, it is okay to not stream the game that you're playing. A lot of streamers will get in a moment where they feel like if they're going to be playing a game anyway, they should be streaming. And then if they should be streaming, then they should be playing the game that people like watching them on stream. This is not true. So if you're going to be playing the game that everyone loves watching you play, 100% feel free to stream, but also feel free to play other games off stream. For those of you guys who play any games like League of Legends or Overwatch, those games can be extremely stressful and extremely irritating to play sometimes. I would play those games to de-stress from Dead by Daylight. Okay, we're running late. Everyone's like telling me we gotta go. I get it. You're running low. You're dead. All right. Now. But it is the easiest way to beat burnout is to one, do things that aren't streaming. So most people will tell you if you talk to any old streamer, stream all day long, stream 8 hours a day. That is not the way to grow. You want to keep your stream to 4 to 6 hours. If you're streaming for 4 hours and your stream's doing really well, keep going. But if you stream for 4 hours and like your stream's starting to wind down, feel free to wind it down, end the stream, host somebody else, and then play another game. Or even if you want to keep playing the game, but feel free to play the game off stream. Ultimately, streaming is a lot more than just playing the game. It takes a lot more focus, a lot more attention, and you have to do other things. You have to read chat, you have to interact with people, you have to be entertaining. You're not allowed, or I wouldn't say you're not allowed, but you don't want to get up as much, you don't want to go out to eat as much, you don't want to use the bathroom as much, you don't want to run around in your underwear as much. There's a lot of things you just can't do when you're live, and you might do when you're playing the game and you're not live. So don't force yourself to stream extremely long hours if that's not something you want to do. And then just be willing to play other games off stream. And sometimes even be willing to play other games on stream. Like I said, I have a Fortnite Fridays where I play Fortnite every Friday with my team. I have a deceit night, which is basically like, I don't know a good way to describe deceit. If anyone's ever played Secret Hitler or Werewolf or something like that, it's very close to that, but with guns. So like, have a night, even if it's just once a week or once a month, where you allow yourself to do something different, and just don't worry about, like, take one night where you just don't worry about your view count, you don't worry about anything else, and like, do something that's not Twitch related. And that's the best way to do it. A lot of streamers, a lot of people, whenever you're creatives, this is why YouTubers get to it, they get to the point where they're working, and then they're streaming, and they're not doing anything else, and that's what causes the burnout. Go watch a movie, go hang out with friends you haven't seen in a long time, go do something different. That is what refreshes you and allows you to go back, to come back and do the things you do as well as you do. Cool? All right, one more question, and then we're getting out of here. And I'm probably going to throw like one more shirt, because I have like 1 or 2 more shirts left. Any questions before we go? Anything else? All right, the last question tonight. What do you got?
Any do's or don'ts as far as stream time? Getting attention, or is it not really that low?
Stream titles are extremely important. I'm going to go more into that in my panel tomorrow. But when you're starting up on Twitch, there is almost no discoverability on the platform, but the keyword there is almost. I have some of the best streamers I know, and the best community connections I've made has been from me seeing a streamer who's had a really interesting title, a really cool thumbnail, or some really cool overlay that drew me to their stream. There's one streamer in particular, her name was Tier 1 Waifu. I was playing Dead by Daylight, streaming myself. I was kind of doing my own thing, but I always pull up the directory to see other people who are alive. And while scrolling the directory, I saw her name was Tier 1 Waifu, and she had a No Game No Life overlay, which to me let me know immediately that she's super cool, because No Game No Life is a dope anime. Mind you, there are hundreds of other streams that are in that directory. The only reason why I noticed her stream was because her name was related to anime, and she had a dope anime in her overlay. But having something like that is immediately what's the only way to draw someone to your stream. I've had hundreds of people come to my stream and say, like, I was scrolling and I saw your profile picture and it looked like Gurren Lagann, and I love Gurren Lagann, so I clicked on your stream. And like, there's been long-time supporters. I've had a guy come by and drop $1,000 just because I like quoted like, High School DxD. We're talking about High School DxD right now. And he was just like, dude, I love that anime. Here's $1,000. I'm like, cool. But yeah. Before everyone goes, I have like 2 more shirts to throw out, and I actually have some cards to give out, so if people like want to be able to find me or ask questions later, it won't be here tomorrow. And then for those of you guys who are getting started streaming, maybe looking up, pick up some new equipment, I will be giving away a blue snowball and a Logitech camera, one of the new Logitech cameras or whatever, at tomorrow's panel. So if you guys are looking to get some new equipment, please come by. And then that panel's kind of more industry talk, but if you guys have any questions for that, please feel free to come back. I'm happy to help out, all right? All right.